Hi, Chris.
Hi.
How's it?
Good, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for doing this.
No problem.
Yeah?
It's a real pleasure to share my experience with others and to always be in dialogue with the universe.
Beautiful. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay, well, in terms of the type of person I am, I'm creative. I like reading, so I'm a bit of an academic as well. I've studied quite a bit. I've got 3 degrees, but I started off as an artist, studied painting. So studying the history of the frame and how painting and the frame have made up a reality that we've been trying to emulate what we see, and how that affects pretty much everything we do, going then to the television and ultimately to a computer screen and then to a phone screen. But at heart, I'm a creative person. If I could, I would just draw and paint. But I also like to be analytical and problem solving and to look at things in a logical manner, and to have ideas and to work with other people and teams in solving problems.
Lovely. What got you into art?
I think when I was very little, I just naturally took to drawing and playing with plasticine and stuff like that, and I was very expressive and I was very good at drawing things that I saw. So from an early age I got a lot of good feedback from my parents and from people around me. I was like, oh wow, look at that drawing. So it made me feel good, and it was like a natural thing for me. If I'm not being creative, I can get very depressed. I find I'm that kind of person. But creative doesn't necessarily need to be drawing or editing or videoing. It can be creative in other ways, like thinking about things in a creative way, understanding different philosophies and methodologies, how people see things, how they frame things, and how they break things down in terms of understanding. That can be creative as well. So, I think, I used to want to just be a mad creative, like a crazy genius, making beautiful things and animation and stuff like that. But as I've gotten older and I've matured a little more, I've realized that I can get that same feeling from thinking about things, about how to look at problems, how to look at things, how to bring that into the workplace and into your life in a creative way. Always being creative with your energy, creative with what you do with your time, and stuff like that. But like I've also learnt about the analytical side, and I never thought I was really that analytical. I always thought I was very free, very creative, very out there. But actually I've come to need both to make sense of the world. So I never thought I was until I started to see my level of work against other people's level of work, in the way that I address problems, in the way that I look at best of breed reading, in the way that I read around framing the question and understanding the problem. I realized that I am very analytical actually as well, and like to start from a point of understanding. But my best is to freely express myself. I love making videos, I love doing animation, although animation is a bit too hard, it's too laborious, there's too many key points and stuff like that. But I do like the visual frame. That's the thing that excites me the most. If I could marry myself to my dream and manifest my work-life personality symbiosis, I would say that I'd like to be able to just draw and paint. But obviously I live in the world and I've had children to raise, and as a result of that I've had to work in the world, and so my work is around UX and UI design. So basically I was a front-end, we used to call them front-end developers or front-end designers. That's all changed quite a lot because of the explosion of digital products. But that's what I started as. I actually started out as a graphic designer after art school.
Lovely. How did you manage to keep painting, or did you stop painting after going to school?
I stopped and started. I've got a chest somewhere full of books. I used to draw all the time, and there's been phases when I haven't drawn, but I'm drawing again and painting. There's one behind me here that I'm busy with. There's a drawing on the wall.
Beautiful piece.
And I've started trying to make time for that because I realized that's what makes me happy. But I also sing and play music, and that I find also is a very expressive, creative outlet. To it's kind of like church. Helps me clean my heart and helps me to feel good.
Great. What did you study in college?
Well, my first degree I studied fine arts, so I majored in painting and art theory and the history of art, and then there's theoretical practices that they do around drawing, lithography, photography, all the basic art types at that stage. And I did a BA honours in painting. After that, I had a break and made a few babies, and then I got hungry for knowledge again, and I went back and I did a master's in digital arts, where I learnt about coding, where I learnt about cameras, where I fell in love with cameras actually. I went initially to learn how to animate in Maya, which I did, but I found that very, very time consuming and laborious, and I really fell in love with using cameras when I was animating, because we'd use cameras to shoot things, to copy, and to use it as a tool to frame stuff up. And I found that I way preferred the immediacy of camera, and I really love storytelling. So it was like a match made in heaven. I love the frame, so art starts with the frame. What does the frame look like? How does the foreground look, the middle ground, the background, where are the people? You can tell a lot from that. And then obviously this whole digital flood, fourth industrial revolution, and my work life has sort of mimicked that. I think when I was 24 I got my first computer. Before that I never had a computer, and sort of grew and evolved, and it's just snowballed out into this world where we're all on devices all the time.
How was your first computer? How was that experience?
Wow, I loved it.
What kind of programs did you have on it?
Photoshop 1 or 2, it could have been. You still had discs that you put in. And editing and putting text on something was like, I just loved the pixels and the pointer, and the whole experience, of the digital world was entrancing. And it was an Apple Mac in those days. You used the Apple Mac for desktop publishing, and I saved up and I got it, and then I was going to be a graphic designer, and so I started with Photoshop. There was something called freehand, which is a lot like Illustrator but for print, and it was a lot more print related. We used to do a lot of stuff for print. That doesn't happen that much anymore. I mean, it does, but not like it did. And carried on growing, and obviously I've been in the digital world ever since. But obviously also then went back to university and studied business masters, which helped me to understand how to work in teams and how to be a better listener, how to be a good person, I think, because you got to take, in any situation, you have to take the personality types and try and fit it together, so that the people that are good at different tasks get to do those tasks at the right time, and people work cohesively, and it's very rarely that you can do anything at the highest level of any discipline on your own. You always have to work with other people. So that degree taught me a lot about different personalities, working with accountants, working with financial directors, working with operations-orientated people, working with people-orientated human resources people, learning a bit about law, and business law and business management and all of those things helped me to become more patient, helped me to look to build others. And the one thing I really enjoy is teaching people new skills. I spent a short while in my career teaching film and camera subjects at City Varsity for about 3 years, and that was extremely rewarding, seeing people learn how to use cameras and learn about framing and become little storytellers, and then releasing that expression and energy and excitement in them that was released in me when I first discovered it. So I think my real love is editing. I love editing. I love video editing. In my current job, I don't do much of that at all, unless I can kind of squeeze it in as a presentation or something like that. If I could, I would edit good stories more as part of my practice.
Beautiful. I want to know more about building teams, but before that, can you tell us about the music?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just wait for the cops are coming to get me. Okay, so musically, I've always loved music, like everybody does. Everyone loves sound. It's very primal. It's kind of at the heart of everything. It drives most cultural expression and creativity. And like I said, for me, it's like church. So like singing with my own voice and crying out a story into the wind has always been something that's kind of helped me to deal with the world and with all the things, all the suffering, and also being expressive, which is critically important to being happy. So from a young boy, I don't know, I think I've got my first guitar in my very late teens and been picking on that and playing guitar and just trying to sing the blues away since then. And it's something you fall in love with. Everybody loves to make music.
Do you do performances or?
Yes, I've done quite a bit of performing, mostly at sort of open mic nights and things like that. And I've played with a few different guys, but never on like a big stage.
Yeah.
I haven't kind of ever performed.
But can you tell us the feeling of being able to stand on a stage and express yourself? How different is it to maybe sitting behind your computer with your maybe a UX design software?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different experience. I love words and I love poetry. So for a big part of songs and stories for me is the words and the poetry. And so in terms of that, there'd be a similarity in the work I do in terms of building journeys for customers and clients on digital products, because there's always a story you're trying to land. And so the similarities there, but the performance piece is different. Standing up in front of people, luckily I don't lack confidence. I can stand up in front of people and tell them what the score is, and I enjoy it, and it's a very visceral energy. I'm also quite a shy, reserved person because I'm a creator maker, but I actually also enjoy, like if I get up and I've practiced a certain song enough and I get up and I play it, I can move people and be moved by their response, and that's what's beautiful about music. But it's a very different process to working in teams and building now digital products, which are usually, what's the word, sort of, it's very difficult to work in teams in big organizations because of the structure of the organizations and the way the organizations fit together and the way that the hierarchy works and the way that the decision making happens. So big organizations are actually the antithesis of free, innovative creativity. And that's the most difficult part, is how do you penetrate failure, reinvention, thinking and creativity into a model which is driven by profit and analytics. And that's the tricky part. The most successful companies know by far that creativity is the key, and innovation related to creativity, and releasing those energies in the people that work for you, and enabling those insights in your business, because the people that work for you are the people that know how things work. So they can help you evolve the processes because they have the information. You can't bring an outsider in. They can come in and see it and probably do some kind of analysis for you, but it's the people that do the job every day that are the people that you actually need to teach to be creative, because then they creatively problem solve the trails, the journeys, the calls, the things they do, the interactions, and they start to think on the fly. And that's what design thinking is about. It's about saying, okay, cool, we've got a task to do, we can be operational, but you know what, we're continually building and modifying this plane that we're flying, and we're evolving into a better, more innovative, disruptive energy, because that seems to be kind of the era we're in.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, I want to know, how do you deal with different personalities in a team and make sure that the whole team becomes productive?
Yeah, look, the people part of I like people. I like joking around. I like sharing energy, and usually I'm okay. Sometimes my energy is too much for people and I can switch them off, and sometimes I get excited about projects and I talk too much, and that switches other people off as well. So when it comes to teams, it's all about recognizing the individual and what their needs are in terms of what they have to facilitate within the team, and then trying to identify how to motivate them. Now, there's a lot of different management theory out there in terms of people, but essentially some people are rewards driven, some people are driven by making a difference, some people are driven by being the best at what they do, so they're craft driven. They like to be most people like to have a mastery of what they're doing because it feels good to perform at a certain level. Some people just need to be bossed and told what to do because they don't have the maturity, or they haven't worked out their sort of window for performance or happiness or understanding work ethic. So when I've worked in big teams, I always try and let everyone's voice be heard. That's the first thing. As soon as you have, the more communication you have within a team where people are free to fail, free to say what they think, you're always going to have better ideas. You're always going to have a better work environment. You're always going to have better work quality if people are not afraid. I believe in that. And so what I try and do is identify the way people are and their traits, and then try and use those different philosophies. Some people you just have to give them the parameters and the outputs, and they perform. Some people like that, they can perform on their own. A lot of people can't, and they need to be told and even sometimes shown and upskilled in order to do the work, and those are the hardest to deal with because you actually have to put a lot of energy and time in. Some people like to learn, so if you get them interested in something that's interesting to them, you can ride the wave of their excitement, and that's the best way to do it for me. If you've got people who enjoy what they do in a team that communicates effectively with each other, that gives everybody a voice and allows for responsibility, that's how I like to work. But having said that, it doesn't work for everyone, and there's always a boss, there's always a deadline, and there's always a budget. These are the things that make it difficult, right? Because you've only got so much money, you can only use certain types of people, and you only have a certain amount of time to get something done before it doesn't have any value. So you have to trade those things off against each other and the people that you deal with. If you've got a problem person, my suggestion is to get rid of them as quickly as possible. And when I say a problem person, I mean attitude-wise. If you've got a person with good attitude, you can always train them to do something if they come with the right energy. But if you've got someone with the wrong attitude, it's very difficult to turn someone's attitude around. You can, and there's different tricks you can use to get people interested. You can get them learning, you can give them an ear, because people just want to, basically they just want to learn, they want to know they're progressing, and they want to know that they're validated and recognized. And if you can give that to people, usually they'll perform for you. But it's always a trade-off, and it doesn't always work smoothly, but by far the most difficult thing is working with people.
Lovely. In closing, what would you say to an artist who thinks that being digital is betraying the arts? Because there are those guys who are hardcore fine art and they don't want to use anything digital, and they feel like, I think, look, for me, from my own creative practice, I'm a very creative person. I started drawing, I'm still drawing, I love drawing. But computers are so much fun when it comes to creativity, and cameras are amazing for storytelling and narratives and just a picture, you know what I mean? I love photography, you know, like the earliest photographs ever taken in the late 1800s. When you look at them, there's a magic about them, you know. It's light being captured with egg emulsification on some kind of paper, right? There's a real magic that's happening that actually reflects the world, and that's very captivating. And so that's technology. Cameras have evolved. Okay, now we all have phones, and it's evolved even further, and now we've got memes, and we've got different ways of communicating, and we're pushing and pulling all the time, and we're always looking at a thread, and it's influenced us to such a large degree that it permeates our culture and our being. I don't see how you can separate it out from your cultural or your artistic practice in today's day and age. And there's so many opportunities. You know, I've shot many music videos, and I've shot many stories, and a camera is a beautiful thing to tell stories with, and even, you know, built things in 3D and use digital tools to make creative things is very engaging. But I do love painting. I love the viscerality of actual pigment on paper. So to purists, I say I get you. I like that just as much as any good digital art. But to live in this current world and to be an expressive human being, you have to engage the tools that are in front of you. Wow, thank you so much for your time, Chris. We can do this all day.
Thanks, Anthony. Have a good life, and good luck to everybody. Always be true to yourself. If I can give just key advice, if I was 20 and someone came to me and said, these are the things you need to do, I would say, be true to yourself. Always be honest. Okay? So that means never lying to yourself or to anybody else, and work hard. But the big one to learn is to be true to yourself. It took me a long time to be okay with myself. I was always in job interviews, I was always trying to get the job. So I would always try and be the person they wanted me to be. And with maturity, I've come to realize that you don't want a job where you have to be something. If you have integrity and you have something to bring, find that out as early as possible. Be honest and work hard, and you'll do well.
Wow. Thanks, man.